It's impossible to deny the importance a thriving airport means to a local economy. Does it take a strong economy to grow the airport, or does it take an airport with vitality to drive the economy? It's like the old chicken and the egg debate. Well, management constantly works to convince people to use the Quad City International Airport rather than make the drive to Chicago, where you can usually find cheaper tickets. The Fly MLI campaign was a marketing slogan that hasn't quite delivered the results management would like. The airport doesn't have as many airlines flying in and out as it used to. The loss of Air Trans 6 years ago is one example. United Airlines also, if you remember, briefly offered a new service to Washington, D.C. That only lasted about 6 months when it was supposed to be guaranteed for 2 years. Right now, airlines offer roughly 20 arrivals and 20 departures a day at the airport. 4 airlines fly in and out of the Quad City International Airport regularly: United, Delta, American, and Allegiant. They provide direct flights to 9 cities across the country, including big hubs like Chicago, Denver, Atlanta, and Dallas, and more. These days, it's a very competitive landscape for regional airports, a situation that's only expected to get more intense in the future. There's a long-term goal, though, for more growth in terms of flights, destinations, and passengers at the airport. It hasn't trended that way in recent years. Well, there is a new man in charge there who will try to tackle that. His name is Ben Leichner, the executive director of the Quad City International Airport. He joins us for an extended conversation this morning. Welcome to the program and to the Quad Cities.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks for having me.
So what are your first impressions of the airport overall and its operation?
Well, I guess you guys have covered some of this in the past, where I made a trip out here for an interview in I guess it was late April. Just a couple days here with my wife, and it was started out something. It was we're considering a move from the Pacific Northwest to the Midwest, and we kind of fell in love with the charm of the region. We saw a lot of potential as a younger family, but we kind of identified the community and the region as having really good bones, I guess is one way I'd put it.
And the airport itself, when you were...
So the airport, I come from Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, 9th busiest airport, commercial service airport in the country, where space is a concern. There is no opportunity to have new construction without looking at what you're going to get rid of. There's no greenfield space to develop. So coming here and seeing the infrastructure that's in place, as well as the community support throughout the region, really excited to see that kind of opportunity.
So what do you see as the biggest challenges for the airport now that you're here? I know you're still getting your feet wet and getting your arms around the whole thing, and we're not going to get into like all the solutions you can come up with, but you're certainly identifying things.
Well, I think in of itself, change is always a challenge. I'm very fortunate to come into an airport that has incredible community support, so I'm excited about that. Another great resource that I'm very, very pleased with is the staff at the airport. Bruce has built a very strong management team, but pretty much all the individuals I've had a chance to work with so far, both airport employees as well as airline stakeholders and tenants, everybody's very dedicated to seeing the airport thrive.
Do you see any big challenges, though, ahead in this climate today?
I think the aviation industry in of itself has many challenges going forward, but I think with our position as a bi-state region and having a lot of community support, I see where there's some small hurdles that we can get through as a airport community, and mostly I see a lot of opportunity. You
mentioned you just came here from Washington State. Certainly SeaTac is a huge airport. The other before that is Bellingham International Airport. How different are they from what you're working with here?
There are some fundamental differences.
You mentioned the SeaTac.
Yeah, mostly at the state level between Washington State airports and an airport being in Illinois. Airports are an airport. It's federally regulated on a lot of levels, but there's a lot of local flavor that has to do with the state support. Bellingham was very similar to Quad City in the fact that it was at the time an Allegiant hub that was growing very quickly. I've heard a lot of feedback from community members about the importance of business connections and business markets, but equally important is the Allegiant markets they serve and those leisure destinations. So having that type of carrier is actually very important to the airport.
What successes can you take from your Washington experience that you'd like to apply here?
Definitely efficiency. So being such a constrained airport at SeaTac, we got really good at doing a lot with very little. We had some of the highest throughput of our facilities, very limited facilities. So part of that kind of bore this efficiency and high utilization that it's going to help when we're really looking at the cost of the airport and how we can help the airlines increase the yield in the markets they serve out of here.
So when you're talking about efficiency, is it the timing, arrivals and departures, or is it?
Timing is a very sensitive thing, where all of our destinations out of here, aside from the Allegiant markets, are connecting to other global economies through airline hubs. So every time you change arrival or departure, even by several minutes, it has major
connection at risk.
Major system impacts. So some of those are set. Some of those are really looking more at efficiencies through economy of scale of how we can combine services at the airport for the airlines to really create economic efficiency.
What are some of the initial needs you've already identified here at the airport?
Well, one of the biggest changes that when I came into is I have some key vacancies at the airport. Assistant director of the airport, the director of operations and maintenance, as well as the public safety manager. I have an interim public safety manager that's been with the airport for a long time, very knowledgeable, and so I'm starting to work with him. Some other things, I guess we just had a changeover in some of our board members, and so building some of those relationships are going to be really key for me right now.
Well, we have more to talk about with Ben Leishner, what priorities he has for airport growth and how to get there in the long term. For the record.